Okay, Washington County Commissioners Court is now in session Tuesday, March 25th, 2025 at 9 a.m. And Commissioner Hanneth, would you introduce our pastor for us, please?
Okay, so every single time I've introduced the pastor, it's Mr. Wells. So today is going to be Reverend Wells. We're going to say the Pledge of Allegiance and to the state flag after he uses our invocation.
Amen. Let us pray. Father God, in the name of Jesus Christ, this is the day that the Lord has made, and we've come to rejoice and be glad in it. Father God, we thank you for this commissioner's court, and as always we ask for wisdom and that you would continue to allow them to be the great servant leaders that they are as they govern our county affairs. And finally, Father God, we thank you for Sister Beth Rothermill for 3 decades of service to our county, God. We ask that you continue to bless her as she transitions to her new area of life. We love you, God, and we thank you. Bless this meeting in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you, Mr. Wells.
Mr. Wells? Just a moment, Mr. Wells.
Yes, sir.
Reverend.
Yes, sir.
You got anything you want to say about this?
On Thursday, November the 3rd, from 4:30 to 6:30, we'll be having an after-hours event. Bad news, spoiler, we won't be serving beer. But what we will be serving it's an ice cream social to kick off our capital campaign. We thank our county commissioners court for always supporting. We're going to renovate that whole area where the cannery kitchen is. We're bringing back the old canning building. We're going to repave the parking lot. We're going to redo that cottage and also that old airplane hangar. We're going to turn that into a training facility. So come out as one of our kickoffs for our capital campaign. I have a celebrity chef from the Food Network that's flying all the way in from Miami. Y'all the only people who know this. I haven't announced this to anybody, but there's going to be
Well, now you put it on
Now
YouTube.
everybody knows.
Hey, they know that. If you want to know a
It's on
secret, don't
YouTube.
tell a preacher. It goes over the church.
Now, one question. A celebrity chef for ice cream social.
Well,
Now,
you and
is he gonna bake the ice cream? What's gonna happen?
Well, you and I share our New Orleans culture together, so we will have flavors that you can't even find in the store. There's select flavors that's only served in the parlor. But then, if you've been in New Orleans, you've had a banana faucet before. The grenadine and the flame that goes up, we doing it like that on the
All
3rd.
right.
So,
I just wanted you to explain that to everyone. Okay,
Yes, sir.
great.
All
Well,
right.
thank you, sir. Appreciate
thank y'all.
you being here.
Have a
Thank you.
great evening.
Item number 3, presentation of American Revolution Experience Reception, sponsored by Captain Jabez Deming, NSDAR. That's National Society of Daughters of the Republic, and Miss Becky Bailey is here to give a presentation.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate the honor of speaking to you today. I am Becky Bailey. I am with Captain Jabez Deming, and we are a chapter of the National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution, which meets here in Brenham. And we have been celebrating for the last year anniversaries for 250 years. You see, our nation is coming upon a birthday, and we are a part of that celebration and invite you to join us in that as well. There is an exhibit of 13 panels and 3 interactive tablets that has been put together by Battlefield Trust and the DAR, and it's touring the United States. We have the honor of presenting it here in Brenham from April 15th to April 26th. We also are fortunate enough to partner with the city to use the Brenham, Barn Hill, and to be in the ballroom. And so these panels will be free to the public to come in and view. They tell about people, events, battles, things that were a part of the revolution. We ask you to come and remind yourself about things you might have been taught earlier, and also to learn new things about the revolution. And we do it for this reason. I might remind you that in the scripture, God told the Israelites, celebrate and remind yourselves of the things I did for you. Tell the stories so your children will know the stories. And at the DAR, that's what we believe is necessary too. Our nation is a great nation. The people that founded it gave money, they gave lives, they gave time. But unless we tell the story, the students that will carry this forward won't have the information. And so this display, we feel, is a way that we could perhaps cause them to have some questions, have them come and find some things they'd like to learn more about. As a part of the display, we do have students coming from Brenham, from Belleville, from private schools to see it. And we wanted to try to make it something that they might enjoy because, you know, just looking at a poster is not really that great. So we have some life-size cutouts and a selfie wall because we know that appeals to them. We also know that not everyone learns script these days, and so we've got an opportunity for them to do their signature because anyone who's done any research knows that a lot of those documents are written, and you need to understand what connecting those letters looks like. It's really a word. So we've got lots of things. We've got some videos that are short that just highlight various things, and what we really are excited about is this schedule of time that we have celebrates two great anniversaries. The first, April 18th from 1775, was the day Paul Revere wrote. And so in honor of that, those that come to the exhibit will take home 2 glow sticks to pop at Friday night at 10 o'clock to let us know that the British are coming by water. And then on Saturday, that is the 250th anniversary of the battle at Lexington and Concord, the shot heard round the world. And our selfie background is the Lexington battlefield. So we feel like we're really trying to connect them to it and to give them an opportunity to learn more about it. And so we would like you to come. We would like you to be a part of the reception to open this exhibit
Thank you.
April 15th from 5 to 7 there at the Barnhill. And so I've got some invitations. May I leave them with someone?
Sure.
Thank you.
To you, I was told you're the person. Thank you. And thank you for letting me talk about it.
Well, thank you
Thank
for being
you.
here.
Ms. Deming. Ms. Deming.
Ms. Bailey.
Ms. Bailey.
Ms. Bailey. So I really appreciate your presentation. I will tell you, I think it's very vital for us to allow our young people to know the history of our, not only our country, but our community. And I think one of the things that we failed to remember when we talked about no longer teaching our children how to write cursive was that they couldn't read it.
Right.
It was definitely one of those things that we failed to see. So I think that our public educators should continue to teach our young people to write cursive so that they can read it, because the founding documents are in cursive.
They are.
And if you do not understand that, you can be fooled by documents that have been printed from a keystroke. So thank you so much for what you're doing here. We really appreciate this exhibit because it is part of our history as a nation. So thank you.
Thank you for your
But
comment. Yes, sir.
also, Commissioner, your point's well taken about writing cursive, but also just, they no longer teach the history as they should in our public schools. Neither United States history or Texas history, for that matter, is being lost. Without organizations like yours, it will be lost. So we really appreciate you doing this.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? I'm sorry, I was jetting right out of here.
It's okay. It's
It's
all
okay,
right.
you must have a lot to do.
I have a meeting.
Yeah, we are. Well, thank you for being here.
Bob.
you. Thank you.
And thank you guys too. Y'all come, it's free. Free for everybody.
Item number 4, discuss and possibly act upon the approval of pending Washington County Expo rental regulations contracts. This morning we have 2 of those. One is for a baptism, the other for the election on May the 3rd. Be held at the event center.
I make a motion to approve the pending Washington County Expo rental regulation contracts and authorize the judge to sign.
One second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Item number 5, presentation of delinquent tax and fine and fee collection report by Leslie Scotty with Purdue, Brandon, Felder, Collins, and Mott LLP. Good morning.
Good
Leslie.
morning, Judge Durenberger. Good morning,
Morning.
Commissioners. Thank you so much for having me here this morning. I brought an associate attorney with me, Cooper Boatner. He's helping me out in our Conroe office, and he might help out here from time to time. This is his 3rd week on the job, so
Okay.
he's
Well, welcome.
currently
Welcome
my
to Washington
shadow.
County.
Welcome.
Well, I have before you a delinquent tax collection report, and at the end of the report is a segment on fines and fees for JP Courts 1 and 3. So as we go through the report, keep in mind that these are the delinquent taxes only. The appraisal district does a great job of collecting the currents. They're collecting 95 or above of your levy year after year. And so what they're turning over to us every April for personal property and July 1 for real property is 5% or less of your delinquent roll. So keep that in mind as we go through this to give you some perspective. All right. So the first chart I have in the packet is the account breakdown chart, and this gives us a bird's eye view or snapshot of the entire delinquent roll and how it is categorized. And it helps me to direct my staff on what's collectible and what we need to focus on. So you'll notice the largest section is the litigation or suit section at 33%. So accounts go into suit when various stages are phone calls, letters, calls to the lien holder are unproductive, or we're unable to reach the taxpayer because they're no longer with us, or this is heirship property and the heirs, we've identified them, reached out, and they don't pay the taxes. When we've had failure in communication, or they set up a payment agreement and then breach the agreement. So this section encompasses everything in that whole phase, meaning suit just filed all the way to we have a judgment, we're ready for tax sale. Next section's the action pending section at 30%, and these are predominantly going to be your 2023 delinquencies that we just started working on in July of last year. So we're still in the process of doing the title work, seeing if there's a lien holder, finding out who the owners are, making sure we've reached out to them, having meaningful contact, calling the lien holder, and sometimes deeds are actually in cursive. And so I tell my children all the time, who are kind of, I have one in middle school and two in elementary, and it's kind of hit or miss on whether their teacher touched on cursive at all. My oldest son escaped cursive altogether. My middle kid had some measly instruction on cursive, and I tell them, Mom has to review things for her job that are in cursive, so I have to read cursive. So maybe you should invest more time.
Classical education.
Yes, absolutely. So I digress. But anyway, cursive is important. So action pending, we're calling the lien holders, we're letting them know the situation, because if we file a delinquent suit, we're going to include that lien holder as an interim only defendant, and if we get to the courthouse steps to sell the property, they're going to lose their interest as well. So we like to reach out to them as well and give them an opportunity to pay the taxes or exercise their rights under their deed of trust. Next largest section is deferral section at 22%. These are taxpayers who are 65 or older or have a disability that have elected to defer payment of their taxes. And this is only available on their residence homestead. They can only they can only have one residence homestead at a time. And typically these taxes get paid when they cease to use that property as their residence homestead. And they do have the option during the pendency of the deferment to pay. Anytime they can pay the taxes as well. Next largest is partial pay at 7%. These are taxpayers that are in a formal payment agreement. There are several taxpayers in the action pending section that are in an informal payment agreement that we're working with them. They're making monthly payments. We're overseeing those payments. This partial pay section is the ones that are in a more formalized payment agreement with the tax office. All right, moving along, I have the dollar range chart. This kind of gives me an idea how the dollars are owed and how to direct my staff. Our proprietary software takes the data from the appraisal district, and it takes accounts that have common ownership and puts them all together so we can be as effective as possible when collecting delinquent accounts. So if one taxpayer owns multiple parcels, my system will put them all together. So when my callers make a call to collect on that account or send out a letter, we include all those accounts together. So we're not reaching out to that taxpayer multiple times harassing them. So we're as effective as we can be. You'll notice the highest percentages of accounts is in the 1,000 to 2,500 range at 25%. And do note that the majority of the accounts in the $10,000 up dollar range, those are majority of tax deferred defendants, and the ones that aren't in the tax deferred category are ones we're working to get into litigation, we're figuring out the title work, or they're already in litigation in that section. Next, I have the tax year chart. You'll see the largest percent's the 2023 tax year. From there, it goes down year by year. 16 and prior, there's actually very small portions due to each of those years, and some of those older year delinquencies are due to those tax deferred accounts that have had the tax deferral for many years. After that, I have historical collection data for tax years 2022 and 2023. At the top of the chart, you'll see the outstanding base tax that was turned over for collection, and then you'll see that for 2022, we've collected 60%, around 60%, and for 2023, we're almost a 56% collected of what was turned over to us last July. So still working through that. Before I switch gears to fines and fees, we're having our first tax sale for the county on May 6th. Very excited to get that together. We have scheduled dockets throughout the year for both district courts here. We kind of stagger them every other month. And we're working very closely with the appraisal district, Diane and her staff. They're wonderful to work with. They're doing a great job for the county. We really enjoy working with them. And if you're interested in tax sales, on the front of the report is our website. You can go to our website and sign up for weekly notices at the bottom of the page. It's kind of hard to see, but it's at the very bottom of the home page, and you can sign up if you're interested, and you will get a weekly email on Friday mornings that tells you the tax sales we have set statewide. So if you want to keep up with that, and eventually, I know properties don't often strike off here. Usually properties sell when they go to tax sale, or they get paid prior to the tax sale, because people want to keep their property around here. If there are ones struck off in the future, we'll also keep a list of any tax trust property that didn't have a bidder at the tax sale and that's available for tax resale. So switching gears to fines and fees, I have charts and data for both JP1 and JP3, and I'm not going to bore you with all of the numbers, but you can see the total turnover for each court that we've received, and also what has been wrapped up in payments, what's been dismissed or cleared by the court, reflected in percentages, as well as letters we've mailed, addresses we've corrected, phone numbers we've changed, meaningful phone contacts we've had. And to sum that up, I have pie charts for each justice court, and you'll see that over half have been resolved in either payment or have been closed by the court, which is great. So both JPs participate in the case resolution program, which means we mail the defendants a colorful postcard. We do that mid-February, so that just happened for this year. And it gives the violator a resolution date. So if the court does issue warrants, these postcards will remind the defendant, and that notice is followed up with a phone call from us. And our goal is always to get the defendant to the court to resolve, whether the court decides to whether the court is taking a payment or whether the court is dismissing the case. Our goal is just to drive them to the court to get that taken care of. And last but not least, I have some maps included that just kind of gives you an idea. First one is the top 10 accounts by zip code. And these are only for JP1. I'll alternate each time I come. So these are for JP1, and these are the top 10 delinquent fines for JP1 by zip code. The next one is the top 10 bad address accounts where we've been unable to find someone and been looking for a new address to reach out to them. And the last is my favorite. It shows where we've tracked people down, where people have come through your beautiful county, and some are over there almost in Canada, and some are all the way up in New England area. And so I find this fascinating to see where everybody goes after they get a ticket. So it's like herding cats. But we leave no stone unturned. Do y'all have any questions?
No, thank you. It was a good report.
Thank you.
Very
I
thorough
appreciate
report.
having-
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
very
Appreciate it, and thank you for having me. I appreciate your
I
time.
do have one question.
Sure.
You guys do a lot of work for counties and cities. Do y'all do work for taxing districts as well?
Like what type of?
Like a mud district?
Yes, we do MUD district delinquent collections. Absolutely.
Interesting to know.
And standby fees. The MUD district has standby fees, and the water code actually allows them to do water terminations, which is a really phenomenal tool if you're a municipal water district. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
My
Great report.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Item number 6, discuss and possibly act upon the approval of a resolution in support of Senate Bill 1377 and House Bill 3000 to provide critical funding for rural emergency medical services. Mr. Doremus?
Hey, Judge. So I sent this to you guys, gosh, a couple of weeks ago as the legislature picked up. This particular bill, I think Republican Perry out of Lubbock or Abilene area
Perry.
introduced this bill for rural counties specifically. It looks as it is written, it would probably benefit us as the lower tier, meaning based off population size, our distance from a level 1 trauma center, that we could stand to gain up to about $350,000 for supplemental ambulance budgeting. So I would certainly appreciate your support in this resolution.
You may want to touch on the smaller rural counties. What we-
Yeah, smaller than the most rural, I'll call it that. We're rural, but the most or the super rural counties stand to gain up to $500,000.
So
So,
this supports all of that?
absolutely.
So,
Yep.
okay. Yeah, okay, we need a motion.
I make a motion to approve the resolution in support of Senate Bill 1377 and House Bill 3000 to provide critical funding for rural emergency medical services.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Dramus.
Yes, sir.
Item number 7, discuss a formal notice from Industry Telephone Company for new service line installation along the county right-of-way of Moy Road, Precinct 4.
Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioners. Yes, this is an additional extension from Industry Telephone for fiber service towards the Carmine Burton area. This one is going to be off of Moy Road. We're looking at 7,500 feet of fiber installation with 4 new handholds. We have verified the locations, and we're looking at 7 to 14 foot between edge of roadway and the fence lines throughout this corridor. We've worked with them on the placement of those handholds, and we are confident that it's not going to have any negative interaction with the landowners or the roadway itself. So,
Okay. Okay. Item number 8, discuss a formal notice from Industry Telephone Company for new service line installation along the county right-of-way of Bascom Lane, Precinct 4.
yes, this is actually going to be an extension off of the Moy installation that we just talked about. This one's going to be 8,900 foot. That's going to be on the back side of Moy. This has 10 residences in the back that can be serviced off of this new fiber installation. And we have 7 handholds that are proposed along this route with approximately 9 to 13 foot of space between the edge of the roadway to the fence line / right-of-way line. Verified this area, don't see any conflicts.
Okay. Item number 9, discuss and possibly act upon authorization for the Engineering Development Services Department to seek bids for a used single drum steel wheel roller. Bids are due April 10th, 2025 at 10 a.m. and will be awarded on April 22nd, 2025 at 9 a.m.
Yes, this is something we discussed in budget last year. We're ready to get everything moving on a advertisement for a bid on a used steel wheel roller. The one that we're currently operating with, which has been great, but it's also a 2000 model, so it's about 25 years in, and our guys do a phenomenal job in our shop. But eventually you get to the point where parts are very hard to come by. You're kind of having to Frankenstein some of these things to keep it together, and we're really looking for reliability. We're really trying to push out as much mileage as we can this year, and having reliable equipment is essential in that duty. So we'd like to have permission to go out for bids and see what is out there that's in the market for a used roller to be able to move forward with that.
I make a motion to authorize the Engineering and Development Services Department to seek bids for a used single drum steel wheel roller. Bids are due April 10th, 2025 at 10 a.m. and will be awarded on April 22nd, 2025 at 9 a.m.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Now, those bids will go to the county clerk's office and be opened in this courtroom, correct?
Yes, sir.
I think that's important for the media to know.
Yes, it'll be open in 103, but all bids will be delivered to the county clerk's office until that time.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Item number 10, presentation of the Washington County Sheriff's Office monthly report. Sheriff Holloway?
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners,
Good morning.
and Ms. Rothermel. Congratulations on your retirement. Absolutely. I thank you for, thank you for your service to the county and your diligent efforts to preserve the history of Washington County. And I wish you well. Okay. Our February report, February 2025, the NIBRS report. On page 1, you'll see that our Group A offenses, we had a 91% clearance rate of 11 offenses and 2 arrests. Our Group B offenses had a 93% clearance rate of 58 offenses, which was up from 49 last month, and 32 arrests there. So overall, we had a 93% clearance rate for February of 69 offenses, 64 of which were cleared with 34 arrests. And on our juvenile category, we had 0 in there.
That's great.
Yeah.
And if we go to page 2, this is our monthly activity report. And we start off with the jail division, but first I want to introduce some employees to you guys. We've had 2 new hires and 1 promotion. So our Aaron Armitage is a newly hired corrections officer. I want to welcome him to the team.
Welcome.
Good morning, welcome.
And a newly hired deputy for our transport division, Jason Statham.
Welcome.
And I'm pleased to report that former Corporal Eric Crosby is now Lieutenant Eric Crosby in our jail division.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard, Lieutenant.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you guys for your service.
Thank you.
All right. And so if we look at this activity report, we'll see we had 102 inmates booked into our jail for the month, with our average population down from 95 in January to 84 in February.
Amen.
Wow.
Good number.
No.
Thank you.
So we currently have 8 vacancies in our jail division, with 4 applicants being reviewed. And on our recruiting, today we have a booth or a table at the Washington County Hiring Fair at the Fireman's Training Center. So I'll have personnel there.
Fantastic.
Just giving the information out and trying to recruit. So on our law enforcement division, you'll see that we had 0 vacancies. So we were full at the end of this month on the law enforcement side of things. And some of the comparative categories in the activity report include our assist calls remained the same at 47. Our false alarms increased from 25 to 38. Our motor vehicle crashes, we saw a slight increase in that from 30 to 38. Our loose livestock calls increased from 67 to 74 for the month. And overall, our traffic enforcement increased. Our citations went from 111 to 144. Our warnings went from 519 to 557 for the month. Also, our reckless driver calls increased from 18 to 26. Under our warrant served, our arrest warrant served or cleared, that increased from 75 to 93. And our overall incident responses increased from 2,027 to 2,728 for the month. That's an increase of 701. But I also want to point out that our overall department miles driven decreased from 80,155 to 74,521 for a reduction of 5,634 miles. So that means we're doing more work, driving less miles.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And you had more enforcements of citations and warnings,
Yes, sir.
and that many more responses with less mileage.
Yes, sir.
Amazing.
Again, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, I have had numerous calls that are praising your work, and I've directed them to your office, that they've seen so many sheriff's deputies on 105 and in the county roads, and they are so grateful. So I'm passing along their love of seeing your guys out there, and
Absolutely.
we're so grateful.
Right, right. And the goal of any traffic enforcement program is to save lives on our highway, and we're seeing that. Yeah, my patrol deputies have been instructed to be in those places at those times where we historically have crashes or an increased number of calls. So they're not having to drive all the way around, and they can be present in those locations.
Well, it is
Yeah.
noticed by the public and me. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
Sheriff, I wanted to ask you, as it relates to the ADP, is that tied in at all with the TDCJ transfers? Because I know there have been times where that's been kind of slow, or, what do you think the reduction that we're seeing?
I think the reduction is that cases are being moved.
Great.
Right, yeah, they're seeking a resolution in cases, and so, and our relationship with TDCJ remains strong. Right,
Yeah.
we either transport to them or they come and get, and same thing with immigration.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
Absolutely.
All right. Good news.
It is good news.
Yeah.
And then on page 3, that's our City of Burton activity report, and that just kind of lays out those things that we do in the City of Burton and their zip code, really. But our calls did increase from 79 to 106, and our biggest increases were officer-initiated activities such as traffic enforcement, close patrols, and all the other categories remain pretty consistent.
Great.
And if we skip to page 8, this is our jail bookings by agency. The Sheriff's Office booked in 49 people into our jail during the month. Brenham PD booked in 50, and all other agencies booked in 3. And if we skip to page 10, we see our jail bookings by gender. 20 females were booked in, down from 29 the previous month, and 1 female was pregnant when she came into jail. Males were 82, up from 71. And that concludes the monthly report for the Sheriff's Office. I'll take any questions.
Thank you.
All right.
Excellent
I
report.
don't have any questions for you, Sheriff. I just want to say thank you for the work you and your team have done. We really appreciate it, as the Commissioner Corn has said, that it's noticed.
Definitely
And
noticed.
what we want your folks to know is that we notice as well, because we are a team.
Yes, sir.
And so we appreciate the team effort that you guys have put into this and helped this court create law enforcement that we can all be proud of. So,
Yes, sir.
thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
for your leadership.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Thank you. Item number 11, recognition of Ms. Beth Rothmel's efforts to preserve the original deeds to the Washington County school land of Tom Green County. Commissioner Mayeski, can you come around and help me, please? These documents are the original deeds from the state of Texas to Washington County for our Tom Green school lands. Deeded, it began in, there is hard to read, but,
Is it in cursive?
Even the numbers are in cursive. Anyway, and I always try to read that. Miss Beth, you know these days better than I do.
1877?
And you need to come forward, by the way.
1877, it looks like on the
Yeah,
map.
1847 to 1875. It took, the land was actually given
1852.
52. Okay.
And the certificate was issued 1877.
There you go. I knew.
Yes.
You're very familiar with these, so that's good. I appreciate that
Yes.
very much. But we want to recognize, first of all, our county clerk for 30 years of service. And this is just one example of her dedication to the history of this county. You know, I won't say that if I had found these, I'd probably, boy, those are really great. I would not have had the initiative to go to this in this wonderful frame, preserve this forever. The special glass you have on here and everything, the effort you put through it. We can't say how much we appreciate your efforts and what you've done for Washington County for 30 years. Thank you so very, very much.
You are welcome. It's been my pleasure. And I've been so fortunate to work with the Commissioners Court, who were all elected officials together. But I've been fortunate in Washington County to always have a court, a judge and commissioners that have recognized how beautiful these old records are and what they mean for our county, and to be supportive of preservation efforts. Not every county is like that. I hear some real nightmare stories about commissioners taking those records management monies and archive monies and using them for something green and yellow that has John Deere written on it or something else. And our commissioners have always said, nope, that money is going to be used for what it's meant to be used for. And I am blessed that way. And, you know, if you heard me tell the story the other day, these were found.
How they were found.
Bobby Branham, our maintenance guy, he said, he came to me one day and he said, you know, there's an old safe down in the maintenance closet on the base floor, and I think there's some of your stuff in there. Not my stuff, I don't know what it is. So a little bit of time went on, and finally one Friday afternoon I went down there, and I immediately knew right away, yeah, that's some of our stuff from the county clerk's office. So I got a box and I hauled it up all upstairs, and I started unrolling it on my desk, and suddenly I had those in my hand, and I screamed, and I really did scream, and I said, oh my gosh. And my staff said, what's wrong, what happened? And I said, these are the certificates for the original land grants for this school land. Now, these are 4 leagues of land. Does anyone know how big is a league of land? Pardon me? A mile square, 4,428 acres. And so that represents about 17,000 acres. I don't do math in public. My husband tells me not to. But anyway, you know, you're an ag, you can say it that way. But anyway, I ran across the hall. Judge Dernberger was at his desk, and I said, look at this. And he said, oh my gosh.
I thought she was one of the $1 million jackpot. I've never seen anybody so excited.
I know.
It wasn't a lottery ticket.
No.
And I said, can we have these framed? Can we display these? Can we do something with them? He said, absolutely. Have them framed. Let's preserve them. And so that's what we did. And it's behind a glass that will protect it from the sunlight. And I don't know if you can turn it around at all, but they, CoFile does an excellent job, and they have left the back of it open so that you can see what's written on the back of them as well, because that's as much a part of the certificate as the front is.
So preserved all the sleeves that they were in and all that. So it's amazing. And, I think, Josh, would you like that cookie?
The arm's getting tired.
Oh, no, okay.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, this Beth, I think
Yes.
you need to get into this picture soon.
Okay, all right, okay.
Right, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Now let's turn it around and do the same thing.
I know that y'all are probably saying, would she ever retire and get out of here and talking about this stuff?
I'm going to get it, so that.
Oh, that's the only one that said it. Yes, we have such a rich history here, and when, I just have to tell one more thing. When Gary and I were, okay, but when my husband and I were trying to decide, you know, what should be my last day and all that, and I thought to myself, well, I'm not gonna get to do this book, and I'm not gonna get to go through that book, and I'm not gonna get to index this other book of stuff, and things that I really wanted to look at and accomplish. And suddenly, a voice came in my head that said, "You're never gonna do it all." And it was like, it's okay. I can go. I could be here another 100 years and I'd never get it all done. Because we have 180 years worth of rich history in this county. And it's a wonderful, abundantly rich history, full of the 59 signers of the Declaration of Independence. They were all here in our county. They were either lived here or they came through, they did business here. Davy Crockett, William Barrett Travis, Marabou Lamore, Gideon Linscomb, and then people like Asa Walker, who, you know, we have an original letter that he wrote before he went to the Alamo. And of course, he died at the Alamo.
Because we had, the Travis sent from the Alamo to Washington on the Brazos. It was delivered here.
Yes, yes. It's such a remarkable history that we have. And I'm so proud to have been just a small part of it.
You've been a very large part of it. Thank you so much for your services. Nick Prinsley had large pumps. That'll be in the hallway where the other, out there for now. So we want to arrange to have a case built where you can see both sides of it, still be hanged up against the wall. That back part is very, very important to the entire document. We'll get there.
So it's not often that you get to see someone's career and what they do for your community over a period of 30 years. And sometimes we disagree, right, Ms. Rothermel?
Oh, yeah, we tie it all up in a knot.
Yes.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we all know the mission, and the mission is for the constituents. But at the end of the day, this type of stuff in a town, in a community, and a county that is so rich in history, it was vital to have someone be the keeper of the records. We just heard about how important it is to know our history. These records hold our history. And I can't think of anyone else that would have done a better job over the past 30 years than Beth Rothermel in maintaining and keeping that history. And what we have to say, all we have to say to you is thank you. Not only for us, but for the next generation of people who need to know our history. Because without our history, we are lost. So thank you so much for what you've done for this county. I know this is your last Commissioner's Court, which are probably one of the things you're grateful about being here is having to keep our minutes. Yes, and to having to keep our minutes. I'm sure that's not something you're really enthused about doing. I know that and having a commissioner call you on a Tuesday morning saying, hey, I found something, is probably not something you're wanting to do, but I guarantee you, I wish you the best in your next chapter. I look at life as being full of chapters, and I wish you the best in that. Now, Gary, I will tell you that there may be some things she needs to fix at the house.
No,
he needs to. No. She's gonna straighten them out, and one of those things is probably you. So be ready. But thank you so much for your service, and it's not often that we get to say it and do it.
To work with y'all. This is such a fine group of people. You guys have the absolute best for the county at heart. You have some hard decisions to make, and a lot of times folks out there, they don't know what's all involved in those decisions. It looks easy from the outside. It looks like a different lay of the land from the outside, but when you know the laws and you get involved in it, you start to understand there's more to this than meets the eye, way more. So you guys do an amazing, amazing job.
Well, thank you, Miss Beth. I can't say it much better than Commissioner Hanneth, but It has been a pleasure to witness your devotion and dedication to preserving the history. And I'm just so thankful that I got to serve along with you, and you will be missed. But as Commissioner Hannah said, I'm very excited for you and Gary and what your next chapter holds, and we're only a call away. So.
I may show up to heckle y'all.
We expect that.
Be careful.
I know.
You live in precinct
Well-
3.
Well, Gary, just remember this, that leisure time is over. That's a done deal. And, as he says, the only way you'll be able to find me is with a road map, and y'all will be on the road. And we so look forward to sharing those adventures with you. I know he came back and y'all shared your travels with us previously, and I always look forward to that, so maybe you can do that again for us. Anyway, wish y'all both the best of luck, and thank you so much for your service. And it goes with Gary. It's kind of a team effort. You serve as well, so it's that way with a husband and wife. So, and thank y'all both so much for your service.
I think out of most of the elected officials, you spend the most time with the Commissioners Court every Tuesday.
Absolutely.
And on the phone with us with the minutes, so.
Gary was trying to figure out this morning how many sets of minutes I've written.
Oh,
wow.
what?
1,500-ish.
Yeah.
What?
Plus special.
Oh, at least,
events.
52 times 30, there you go.
Yep.
But you know, I want to say one more thing. I'm sorry.
Not one more.
You know, really, we talk about the historical figures in the records, but all of you, if you purchased land, gotten a marriage license, been born here, had probate records, everybody's names are part of history too. Everyone. It's you know, we like to say in our office, from the cradle to the grave, we got your records. Okay.
You may be famous, but you may be
That's for
infamous. Yeah, there's also the infamous outside of the famous. So.
Yeah, there we are. Okay.
We get to talk again.
Get to talk again.
I know I get to talk.
Presentation of the following monthly reports. County Clerk, Ms. Rothermel.
All right, we'll go to the graphs first, since those are much more telling. For the month of February, again, this is just January and February showing up, but about the same amount of money, which is more than the end of last year than we were doing, as we were down into the 50s. Funds taken in the month of February over the last 5 years. Again, it's less than last year in 2023, but about the same as 2021. So I think people are still waiting to see what the economy's going to do. That's kind of, we're still not seeing an uptick of selling of anything really. Official public records, we had just over 500 of those for the month of February. And then, now this is the really interesting one over the last 5 years. You can see that downward trend sort of continues, which, you know, there was, you know, some questioner thought that might go up with you know, and that may come yet, so. Plats filed, we had 4 filed for the month of February. And again, last year, you know, 2024, we've been going up on those plats filed, and last year, again, was a nosedive down to about 40 of them. And so we're starting the new year, and we've got 4 for February. With regard to criminal cases, we had 50 filed and 58 were disposed of. So County Attorney's Office continues to take care of those criminal cases. And criminal cases for the month of February was 50, so less than last year for the month of February. Then disposed 58, so that is more than last year also in February. Moving to civil cases, we have only 5 civil cases filed, 2 disposed, and that is less than in previous years for the month of February. Guardianship cases, we had 4 guardianship cases filed, for the month of February, and, which is, more than normal. Usually we have just maybe 1 or 2. And there are 275 active guardianship cases that Judge Berg has to review and keep track of through his court with annual reports and all kinds of things that are filed into those. I think I mentioned before that with regard to guardianship and probate cases, we seem to see more people having disagreements in families and cases that are contested, and that makes lots more filings. Probate cases filed, we had 17 for the month of February, which is about the same as January. And for the last 5 years of probate cases, that is about the same as last year, but less than 2023. Births recorded, we had 28 babies born in the county, and that is not quite as many as last year, but it's more than we have. So overall, we have an upward trend of babies being born in Washington County. Deaths for the month of February in Washington County, we had 26, and that is less than the last 2 years, thankfully. Marriage licenses sold, we sold 21 marriage licenses. Now, I don't know what happened in March, but love was in the air. And, oh my word, they were coming out of the woodwork to get marriage licenses. And we have on our website too that we only do those by appointment, because we try to cull those down a little bit when we have court days so that we don't have, lots of stuff going on at the counter, lots of people. There's, it's harder to find a parking place on court days too, things like that. So some days, one day last week, I think it was 4 or 5 we did in a day, and so it was, I don't know what those numbers are gonna be for March, but Nick will have those next month. And he is not, he's in the office today, but he's not feeling very good. So, he is, yeah, he's been a trooper.
Tell him we appreciate that.
Yeah, we've got, so he may be going home later in the day. Permitium, that's your online vital statistics request. We had 23 last month, which is considerably more than we've had in the last few months, so people are taking advantage of that. We had 28 fraud alert signups, which is more, and we're up to 1,582 fraud alert registrations for Washington County. So that is my last one. That's a wrap, as Gary would say. And again, my sincere thanks to all of the department heads in Washington County. I've been so blessed to work with such quality people. Carol Ann, what's up, Gil? Oh my goodness, Lucy and Ethel of elections here. We have crawled around. I thought Commissioner Hannon was going to tell the story Friday afternoon about how he and Erwin Sander pulled Carol and I out of the mud at the Landgraf house. Remember when that happened?
She didn't think I was gonna show up. She called Erwin, and I was at the office. I said, Beth is stuck. A country girl got the vehicle stuck. He goes, yeah. I said, I need a witness. So I climbed in the truck with him. When we got there, she went, you brought him? I'm here, country girl. What are you doing getting stuck? She grew up on Gay Hill Road. She ain't supposed to get stuck.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have mud grips on that one, right?
I think quite a few people are stuck in Washington County. I remember the Commissioner's Court got stuck in Tom Green County.
Well, Ms. Beth, since this is your last report to this court, I think we owe you a round.
Wow, what a hard act to follow.
Well, Ms. Boyce, you got something to look forward to.
Ms. Boyce, are you done yet? We got to move it.
I didn't want to get that far.
Okay, district clerk's report.
My pumps are gonna be higher than Nick's. We had another busy month. I apologize, I missed last month. We were in the middle of jury selection, so I wasn't able to make that. Just some accomplishments that we had this month. I attended the district clerk's winter conference. That was very informative and eye-opening. With successful onboarding of the new clerk, she's jumped right in. She's answering the phones, working with the customers, attending court, all those things, learning a lot and fitting right in. I attended a couple community events, a pancake supper for the junior high, and the Chapel Hill Chamber Coffee Talk. We also mailed out 400 February Pettit jury summons, which I'll talk about later in the slides. And then we also held a week-long jury trial, which may not seem like a lot, so I kind of outlined some of the things that we participate in to make that happen. Jury selection and impaneling, we prepare the jury room, support during the trial, deliberations for the verdict and punishment, releasing the jury, and coordinate with the treasurer for payment. The next slide is just no changes to our team, so you can skip that one. The next one is the fees that we collected for the month. On the left-hand side, I just kind of outlined some of the fees that we do collect. In order to open a case, a non-criminal case, you have to file a petition. And some of those examples are a civil suit, divorce, name change, adoptions, expunctions, and those cost $350. Of that, $137 of that is the state fee. We also issue citations, writs, subpoenas, abstracts of judgment. Those are $8, and then we also charge a constable's fee to serve those. And then we also have anybody that files a motion into their case costs $80, and of that, there's a $45 state fee within that. And then we also charge $1 per page for copies and a small fee to certify those. In February, we collected just over $20,000, which was slightly above the average for 2024 of $19,000 a month. This does not include state fees of $411. And the primary category of fees that we collected was criminal, and that was $14K of the $20,000, and that consists of fines, court costs, and court-appointed attorney fees. And just on the right-hand side, that little pie chart just shows by category the fees that we did collect. So the majority was criminal, followed by civil, and then some family. And then that small slice you see up there in orange is for non-case, but that's copies. On the next slide, we have 3 bank accounts. The main bank account is where we collect the fees in. We have 2 other accounts, restitution, and then the other one is registry, which is a big account for us. It currently has $1.9 million in it. Listed are some examples that we hold in that account. Excess proceeds, which we took in additional $194K this month, and then 2 bonds we took in for $16K. One of the other pieces of the registry are funds held for minors. Anyone under the age of 18, we put those in CDs, and they stay there till they mature at the age of 18. In order to withdraw those funds, they have to have an order by the judge. Currently, we have 18 of those accounts that we're maintaining. 1 matured in 2024 but has not been withdrawn yet. 2 are maturing this year. And then we did have 1 motion to withdraw early, but it was denied by the judge. The next slide just gives you some jury metrics. So like I said, we mailed out 400 summons. 14 of those were returned undeliverable by the post office, which tells me that our jury will is pretty up to date and current. We had 14 disqualifications. Those could consist of anyone who does not live in the county or the state, anyone convicted of a felon or a misdemeanor theft or disqualified, things like that, non-citizens. We had 9 call-ins to postpone their jury day. And then we did have an unprecedented number of 168 jurors that appeared, so they were all over the place that day. And then we did have 167 that had no response. On the next slide, this is the overall cases. In our office, currently we have just over 1,000 active cases, additional 274 that are inactive that we have. Overall, we closed out 68 cases, but there was 80 new cases that occurred last month. 26 of those were criminal indictments. The rest were related to civil and family. So you see, we had an additional 10 cases for family, additional 4 for civil, and 1 additional for criminal that netted out. And you'll see the chart, the bottom right is that we're starting to trend it back up for the year. And the next chart, this is criminal, civil, and family, just kind of show you the top hitters, the types of cases that we have. If you look down at the bottom of that chart, you'll see the largest amount of cases we have are drug possession, followed by tax cases, divorce, theft, and then the rest of those theft, burglary, family, assault, things of those nature. We do have some that are like ones and twosies, and those all add up to about an extra 300 cases of that 1,000 I was talking about. And those could include fraud, evading arrest, injury to child, elderly or disabled, CPS cases, murder, medical malpractice, adoption cases, and termination of parental rights. The next one is a breakdown of the indictments. We had 26 last month. I listed them as follows. We had 1 for human smuggling, 1 for injury to a child, elderly and disabled, 1 for evidence tampering, 1 for a prohibited substance in a correctional facility, 1 for stalking, 1 for money laundering, 4 for burglary, 3 for theft, 3 for drug possession, 9 for family violence, and 1 for aggravated assault, attempted murder. 25 of those were male, 1 was female, and then they put the age brackets on here. No one under the age of 20, and the majority of those were in their 30s. And then we did have our cases disposed, 68 total of those. Primarily were agreed judgments. We had some that were dismissed. About 11 of them were for probation. They got probation. And then the bottom of that chart, we had 2 committed to the local jail, 2 committed to the state jail, and we had 5 committed to prison. And then the age of disposition on the right-hand side, the majority of those were disposed of within 6 to 12 months, which was a drop down, I believe, last month. They were all the majority were over a year. And again, what drives that is if it's a jury trial, those could take a couple years, or if someone gets arrested, reopens their case if they're on probation or whatnot. So, and then my last page, the look ahead. I've contacted the state again regarding the passports. I have not received an answer yet, but I know they're inundated with a lot of passport stuff going on with the executive orders from the president. One of them is they had to change the form because they had over 8 genders on their form, so they had to change it to 2. So they're having to update a lot of their stuff. Past due accounts. It just happens. Purdue was here. I met with them over. I always have to give everybody.
Did you
a
say
minute when
8?
Yes.
I'm just making sure you said 8.
Genders, again? That was
Yes.
genders?
Yes, so they had to
Genders.
update the form to make it 2.
Whoa.
So I have not heard back from the passport
Interesting.
services, so I'm going to reach out to them and keep reaching out to them until at least I get an answer and at least be able to apply again for the agency.
Good.
We
Very
do
good.
have
Adam
people
and
either
Eve.
come in or call every day looking for their passports.
They're in our office every day looking for the passport.
And we need to know the 6th.
Past due accounts, it's something else I'm working on. I don't really have any visibility into, if anyone's paying their fines, fees, all those things. So I'm working on getting at least wrap my arms around what that looks like and if that's occurring. It just so happens I met with Purdue at the vendor booth at the winter conference and got their information about seeing if that's an option as well. Restitution payments. In 2024, there was a House bill passed that changed maintaining collecting and sending out the restitution payments from TDC to the district clerk's office. So I received a stack of restitution payments from TDC, but I have not received what their balance, the criminals, the balances are. So I have a check. I don't know if it's their first payment, their last payment, something in between. And I believe this is something that other counties are experiencing as well, so, working on that project. The other project we have going on in our office is process documentation and cross-training. So we have a significant amount of our processes documented, but I'd like to have that completed and gone through and updated and in a central location. So if my staff is out or at lunch, because we do stay open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. So the family law clerk is out to lunch or on vacation and someone comes in and needs to file for divorce or whatnot, someone else can step up and do that. And then once we get that documented, we're gonna start cross-training in there. So that's a big goal that we have to accomplish hopefully by the end of summer.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, that's great.
You're welcome, thank you. And then lastly, last month, the jury selection day was pretty hectic and took all day into the second day, and there was people everywhere, so working on at least updating the jury check-in process to help alleviate. I've ordered some signs and having them made to put out outside the Park Street door to notify which floor to go to check in. If the county court at law courtroom is available that month, we're gonna check in on the second floor, so at least they have a comfortable place to sit instead of standing in the stairwell and everywhere else. If that's not available, we'll check them in, try to early, before 9 a.m. on the third floor, depending on what's going on in the courtroom. So hopefully that'll alleviate jurors walking around, disrupting the other departments, trying to figure out where to go. And then we're also gonna try to start checking in before 9 a.m. We have new laptops, so we're gonna set up and check them in real time before 9 a.m. So hopefully we can start rolling right at 9.
Is there technology that can help you with that? Like a check-in process technology?
Yes. So, yesterday I went to Bastrop and observed their jury selection since ours was canceled. And they have, they use Tyler Technologies, and so they have a barcode scanner, a
Okay.
barcode on their jury summons. They can scan that and it automatically checks them in. And then they have a way where the jurors can go on and fill out their questionnaire form ahead of time. And so all that's done.
I think we need to look into that.
Absolutely.
You're bringing that to budget, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I've already got a quote from EDOC on that.
You're bringing that to budget, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I am. So, trying, not just the check-in process, but the whole jury day process, I'm trying to streamline and make, more efficient for the public, so they can get in and get out and get back to work or whatever, wherever they need to be, stuff like that, so.
Fantastic.
I would just like to say Ms. Boyce worked really well with us. She was a team player. Ms. Rothermel and I were looking for a place for some of her records. Ms. Rothermel has a temporary location, and as you know, we were putting documents in the same building. They agreed to allow these documents to be in a shared space, and I didn't have to move them.
No, I had maintenance come up and do it. They did it in 2 days, I think we were done. We did it over the week that we, I guess, observed spring break where we didn't have court, so we got done so early that we were able to actually spring clean the jury room and organize that and get a lot of the stuff that we were stored out into jury room kind of put away, so.
And what I wanna say to both of you is thank you for the teamwork on that, because we really appreciate that.
Yes, thank y'all.
Ms. Charlie, you had something?
Can I ask a question? This, I know it's a simple question. How is it you don't have visibility to past due accounts and institutions?
Well, I won't say, it could be because I'm new, and so I just haven't figured that part out yet. But I have contacted the software company to help me build a report or show me where the report is so I can look at that.
So it's not that you don't have it, it's just.
Yes.
She's working to gain access, so she probably has to be given access to that.
Right, I would think so.
Yeah.
And the thing is that if she didn't know she needed access, she probably hasn't talked to the right person to gain it. Does that make sense?
Okay, good question. Okay.
Anything else?
Ms. Boyce, thank you again. I truly appreciate this report.
Thanks.
Very thorough.
It really gives us a good insight in what your office is doing, so.
Okay. Good, I'm glad it's helpful, thank you.
It is very helpful, thank you. Okay, Justice of the Peace report. Any questions or comments about the Justice of the Peace report? Auditor's report. She's not here, she's on vacation. Any questions or comments about the auditor's report?
All I will say is the sales tax collection.
Sales tax.
Please look at that number.
Yeah.
Well, since you brought that up, total sales tax collected for February 2025 is $529,909 compared to January of '24 was $429,160. So sales tax was $100,749 higher this month than this time last year. So we had you realize those reflect December sales tax collections. So that means we had a very robust Christmas buying season, I think, so.
Well, and I wonder.
Everybody got a Christmas gift.
Remember, last year it took a dip.
Yes.
So I want to go and compare it and
Yeah.
see how we're doing to,
Yeah,
I
overall.
think this year's data will help us
23 and-
a lot.
That's
yeah.
right, we'll need to have that.
First 6 months.
yeah.
Okay, any more comments about the auditor's report? Hearing none, we'll move to the tax assessor collector's report. Ms. Gascam?
Good morning.
Good morning.
We collected a little over 142,000 in fees in February. We did 584 title transfers, 3,849 registrations, and 108 permanent placards. And when juries happen, we get lots of complaints about parking.
Don't we all?
Sure.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, our, TABC was kind of slim last month. I am still working on a past due account, and, I have remitted it to TABC, and they're gonna put those licenses on management status. And, one of their, licenses is up in August for renewal. And until that is corrected, they won't be able to get a new license.
Good.
And it's only one, correct?
Actually, it's two licenses
Okay.
that are affected with that. We've been collecting really well on the other businesses, so pretty happy with that. If I could just get that one of them completed.
I tried to.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments about the treasurer's report? Excuse me, tax assessor collector's report? That jumped on. Ms. Peggy, sorry.
Okay.
Okay, next up, the treasurer's report, Ms. Kramer.
Good morning. As you can see, all the numbers are there. As I love to say, everything balances. I am working on keeping all of the investments on a laddered rotation so that we always have things coming up, because not knowing what will happen in the world, I'm trying to keep as many of our investments at 4% or better. Got a couple of 5s in there, one only 390, but that's okay. Anyway, we are doing great in our office, Catherine and I.
Okay.
I would also like to say Ms. Kramer called a finance committee meeting together, and we're working on some things for going forward with the budget and stuff like that. So I want to thank the committee for getting that together.
Right. Okay, constable's report. Any questions or comments about the constable's report?
Well, I saw something. Seth.
Hearing none, we move to elections report. Ms. Jackson?
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Okay, before I go forward with my report, I just want to ask, I'm sorry, I called you, Ethel, Lucy. Will you come over here for a moment, please? If you don't mind? Because we call each other Lucy and Ethel. Are you guys familiar with Lucy and Ethel? But Lucy and Ethel also had a song that they sang every time we had. Every time before, I know, before we got training together, we always had this song. And so, Lucy, I need for you to sing this. You're not gonna sing it? I'll sing it with you, Ethel. Crazy, crazy for having elections. Okay, that's good. Now y'all got to pay us for that, okay? That was always the beginning of training. We had, while we were getting everything together, we had that time together. And for you that do not know, I did work for Beth. Elections when I came over in 2010 was the first time, and until, you know, that was the first thought of her giving up stuff when she gave up elections. And then I was hired for elections at the elections administrator. But I do want to thank you for allowing me to come over to work under you, which gave me enough training to do what I'm doing now, and I appreciate you. Yeah. All right, now, as far as the report, the first report you see, I mean, this is something that we are doing I probably said this 1,000 times. When it comes to voter registration, there are some repetitive items that we have to do all of the time, and that is with voter registration. Anytime there's a voter registration, we get them in, we have to process them, and then they're scanned in, and then also jury summons when we get those in. And out of those 400 summons that the district clerk sent out, there were some that were returned and some that were returned saying they no longer live here. Well, then we get that bunch of summons in, and then we put those people in suspense. It's usually because they're saying that they no longer live there, or they were returned because their address by the post office saying that undeliverable or whatever. So we saw those 400, I think 400 people coming down the stairs, and we were on the first floor. So it is a hassle, and I like what she said. Okay, then we also have the application, the voter registration applications that we get through DPS. We have to process those, and then those are, once they're processed, the applications are scanned in, the voter certificates are sent out, and even though somebody may have just submitted an application and changed their address, by the time we send them the certificate, which is a turnaround within just a day or two, they've moved. It's returned by the post office. So those people remain in suspense. And deceased records, we get those in as well. We also get the felony records from the possible felon records off of DPS and also from the district clerk's office. We also get voter cancellations through the state and also over the counter as well. And then we're always putting people in suspense. That's almost, I would say almost every day, but this February was the slowest month, so for those people. And then we scan them into our DMS Vista system. Right now, we decided to start scanning like our 70s, over 70 and 75 jury summons that we usually store in a binder. We're now just entering those into the records, and then we can destroy the scanned documents later. And we've started mailing out applications for ballot by mail for the future elections. We've also gotten some back. It's not a lot right now, but I expect, there's going to be an increase pretty soon. I don't think it's going to be like overwhelming, but I'm pretty sure we're going to get more applications in so that people can vote by mail. If you go to the second sheet, Ms. Carly, that's just my spreadsheet or chart for voter registration. As you see, right now for the Commissioner Precinct 1, we have a total of 5,767 voters. 234 of those voters are in suspense. That leaves like 5,533 voters that, didn't have to, that are valid and didn't have to submit a voter registration application. And the same for Commissioner Precinct 2. We have 6,320 voters, a total of 6,320 voters. 196 are in suspense, and then the ones that are not in suspense is 6,124. Commissioner 3, we have 6,815 registered voters, and then we only have about 147, so it seems like they like to answer that, respond. And so there's 6,668 that are not in suspense, this is really a really good number. And then Commissioner Precinct 4, we have 6,197 total voters in that precinct, with 246 being in suspense and 5,951 that are not in suspense. So that brings our total voter registration rolls to 25,099 registered voters in the county, which is basically about a 1% or so increase from from January at 25,068. For the statistics, new voters that came in, we had 127 that registered through DPS, which is on our teen portal, and then we had 2 people that walked in and wanted to register to vote. And during elections, when it's election times, mostly in the even numbered years, we have so many people that walk in and turn in their voter registration. This is just like a slow year, slow month. And then we had 14 that actually mailed in an application that we received through the mail and delivered by the post office. And then we had 7 confirmations that were mailed out. That means, and it doesn't mean that any of those people that we registered, it came from them. But we did mail out 7, but we had 8 returned. And so the number is off, but that's how it happened, because somebody could have been in suspense for 2 years and decided to change their address. All right, and then changes, we had 30 name changes and 29 address changes. Moved within the county, we had 42. Cancellations out of the county, we had 38, and we had 35 deceased records. And a lot of times that coincide with what county did with the county clerk's report. Now, any questions? No? Okay. All right, I'll go on. Now, our February election report. This is some of the things that we do when we prepare for elections. We contacted election workers. We had, for early voting, we had about 30 slots to fill, and so far, and it's just a 6-day period for the early voting. Starts on April 22nd, goes through April 25th, no weekends, and then April 28th and 29th are the last 2 days of early voting. And then, of course, May 3rd is that Saturday, and that's when the election is. And so for Election Day, we filled 56 slots for precinct workers. That included with the early voting ballot board, the central count, tabulators, and receiving. And those entities that are having an election is the Brenham Independent School District, the City of Brenham, City of Burton, and the Emergency Services District. That's going to be created if it passes, and not if it doesn't. Election Day is Saturday, May 3rd, and the polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And there's going to be 7 polling locations at this time, and that's what we have posted right now. And one thing that Janet and I attended we attend webinars all the time for more training, and every time we attend a webinar, there's always something different, even if it's something that we dealt with before. It's like, oh, okay, now we're doing it this way. And now with the legislative session, there's going to be a lot more changes. I mean, things always change.
You mean the legislature would change something?
Oh, they are never, all the time.
They're so consistent.
All the time. And there are some good bills out there that, you know, I can't be biased one way or the other, but there's some things that are really good, and I'm hoping that will pass. And then there's some things that are really not so. Anyway, I have no opinion on it. I'm totally nonpartisan on the whole thing. And then Janet and I hosted the quarterly lunch meeting for the surrounding counties at Must Be Heaven, which is what we do, like I say, quarterly. We host them. They just love, other people from other counties love to come to Must Be Heaven. We've been doing that for years and years, and we call ourselves the Lunch Bunch. At one time, Beth was the, were you president? What were you? Oh, you were over at us. Yeah. So anyways, but now, you know, other people have stepped up. But, and we enjoy doing that. So, that's mine report.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This one will be easy, Ms. Carroll, correct?
I'm sorry?
This election in May will be easy compared to the stuff you had to do in November.
Well, it depends on how you look at it. Because I have to tell you, getting, organizing it is really hard because we have different
Yeah.
entities, and then some people
That's
can
right.
vote on certain ballots.
Some
It
can't
would
vote.
be easier if everybody could vote on the same thing,
Gotcha.
but it's not gonna be that way. We
Yeah.
have about, we have
Which polling place?
7 ballot styles.
Wow.
And it's like, if some people can vote, like, let's say at, in Chapel Hill, let's say the ESD. Not everybody in that precinct, certain precinct, can vote that ESD, so that promotes 2 ballots. We have to have 2 ballots for that, those that are eligible and those that are not.
Probably 3, right? Because some of the people that are in the city.
Okay, I'll tell you
Right?
this, they called me back, I thought I was done, but listen.
Sorry.
Here we have, I'll be glad to tell you, it's just okay. So we have
It's only 9:30.
Brenham ISD,
Right.
their precinct 101, 109, 115, 203, 208, 311, 12, 20, 413. They have their own ballot. However, precinct 101, 109, 115, 203, and 208, also, if you're in the if you're in the ESD district, those people have their own ballot.
ballot,
And then you have the city of Brenham,
Yeah.
where I think that's probably the easiest one, because if you're in the city of Brenham, then that's 205, 419, 418, but 418 and 419 are in 2 different wards. So 418, precinct 418 is in City Ward 1 and City Ward 2. It is complicated. And then 419, I know, 419 is also in 2 different city wards. But nobody's gonna have to go anywhere twice to 2 different polling locations. I fixed it, it's good. The people that are in City Ward 1 will vote at Nancy Carroll Roberts Library. Those that are in City Ward 2 will vote at the Event Center. And then City Ward 3 will vote at the VFW Hall, and then 4 at Blinn College. So, and then of course we have the little Burton City of Burton. So there's not very many there. So it's a little bit complicated getting all that together, but once you get your mind around it, then you're fine. But as far as low turnout, yeah, it most likely will be a low turnout. But you never, I say that, but you never know.
Never know.
No, you do not.
So I always plan for the most.
All it takes is one race to make a vote. Okay, well, thank you, Ms.
All
Gray.
right, you're welcome.
Okay, moving on. Veterans Report, Mr. Purcern.
Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Carol, I'm thoroughly confused on where I go to vote now.
Visit me, I'll let you know.
Before I get into my report, I just wanted to say thanks to Beth Beth Rothmel, for all of her support of the Veterans Office. Many don't know this, but vital records includes military records, and there are a number of veterans weekly that that get records, pull records from the county clerk's office.
We allow him access to our records for those things, because it just makes sense to do that.
And it's very helpful to be able to do that, especially in situations where time's critical, like in trying to coordinate for veterans markers or veterans memorials or veterans benefits. So it's very helpful.
Are most important.
Thanks for the teamwork.
So we had 228 contacts for the month of February and 63 forms completed on behalf of veterans and dependents. We did military funeral honors for Clarence Hody, Charles Von Allen Sr., and Albert Ludeman. A little bit more, Carly, and you'll see how that averages out for the year 2025 so far. A little bit ahead of average for both records and contacts.
It's a bunch. Okay.
Judge, Commissioners, any questions about anything?
No, sir,
No,
thank you for what you
nice-
do.
Nice, thank you.
Happy
Nice
to do
report.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Item number 13, discuss and possibly act on termination of PMAM Corporation contract. That contract is the false alarm contract, basically, what we refer to it as. Okay.
Commissioners, that contract is, was signed on May 31st of 3 years ago, 2021, I believe, or 2022. And we have had a discussion with the new sheriff, and the sheriff has agreed that this contract is no longer of use to us for our community. So we feel as though this contract will not need to be terminated. If not, the contract will self-renew. And if we don't send a letter by the 31st of this month, we will end up automatically renewing this contract. And it is not the wish of the sheriff to have this contract renewed. So with that all being said, are there any questions?
No.
And say again.
How much is the contract?
The contract, individuals have to pay into the contract. It's,
If you have an
if you
alarm
have an
system in
alarm
your home.
system for a false alarm, you pay into this system. And it was,
They take a percentage of the fee, basically, and, you know, if you've kept an eye on the false alarms, which a lot of us have been keeping an eye on that for some time, you can realize it didn't do anything to mitigate those calls.
False alarms counts are still
So it
up.
was essentially
It's
just an
not-
additional tax.
It hasn't
it was
performed as
asked by this commissioner's court, by a previous commissioner's court to approve this contract through the sheriff's office. The new administration is no
it was-
longer wanting.
The
to
hope was
renew
that it reduced false alarm calls.
And it had.
Right,
No,
it has not.
It has not,
It has not.
Good
We saw
question.
an 11% increase just last year.
exactly.
It's ineffective.
I make a motion to approve the termination of the PMAM Corporation contract.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Item number 14, discuss and possibly act upon the approval of a bond for Nicholas Prenzler. Ms. Kramer.
Beth, this is it. This is to appoint Nick Prenzler, Nicholas, as the new county clerk.
And that's 5 p.m. on.
5:01
20
on
5:01.
5:01 p.m. Friday.
On Friday.
5:01.
In this room.
In this room, okay. I make a motion to approve the bond for Nicholas Prenzler.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 15, discuss and possibly act upon the approval of accounts payable.
Okay, that number is just a tiny bit off. There wasn't 623,22673, but there was a discount that we noticed this morning for early payment for, I guess, ballots that Carol got. So if you take $400.88 off of that, we're only gonna pay $622,825.85. Because we're paying it on time, not after 45 days.
I make a motion to approve accounts payable with the amendment as presented.
A second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 16. At this time, we will recess our public meeting, and we will reconvene an executive session in about 10 minutes. Yes,
We had
Sonia?
time.